All right, and I think we are live. Good evening. We're Board Game Opinions. My name's Jonathan. And we're doing it in the order on the screen, everyone.
Sorry, I was chewing peanuts.
I was waiting for everyone else.
Yeah,
Dave is last. Go on, Matt.
I'm Matt. Hi.
I'm Paul.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Dave.
And we are a professional organisation, I tell you. We are playing Hanabi, and we're going to try something a bit different tonight. I'm quite excited. We're going to be commentating. Now, the way we're going to do this, we deliberated for a long time to figure out how effectively I could provide commentary from my perspective, because you're seeing it from my perspective, without everyone else hearing. Because if I say, we need to be careful of Matt's 5 that he's got in his chop, then obviously that gives it away to everyone else. So we were deliberating for a while, trying to figure out the best way to mute my audio from them and to prevent me from hearing them. And the long and the short of it is, I just click mute and remove my earphones. We could not figure that out for the longest time. But was it Steve? Was it your idea to remove the earphones?
I think so, yeah.
That was the genius moment.
High tech.
Yes. So we're going to give this a go. So I'm going to sort of say goodbye to the guys. Once the game is finished, I'm going to put my earphones back in, unmute myself, and then we're going to talk about it. But throughout the game, I'm going to tell you everything as I understand it. Now, I'm not immune to making mistakes. So after we get together, they'll all tell you everything I did wrong, quite loudly, probably.
I think you'll also need to turn your the speakers off on Zoom as well.
The speakers off on Zoom.
You don't want to hear us through your computer.
Say something?
Hi.
No, I definitely
Yeah,
can't
but the
hear you
problem
at all.
is the audience can.
Does that matter?
Well, we'll be I mean, okay.
Because they'll still get my commentary. That's true.
They
You're
will
going to
do.
hear everyone.
They'll just be
It'll be
clashing.
talking over
It would
us.
be I think it would be better if it was just you. So all you need to do is on the mute bit, you also need to take your speakers off.
So I need to mute everyone.
Well, you just need to take your earphones out, and then you need to turn your speakers off so that the computer doesn't hear us.
Oh, crumbs.
So have you got a different speaker that doesn't work or something?
No, I've got controls in my streaming software.
Yeah, do that.
Desktop
do that.
audio.
Yeah.
So if I mute
that's it.
desktop audio.
Then the stream won't hear us.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to try this now. So I think no one can hear you now. That is correct. And my microphone little dial is going up and down. So I'm now going to remove my earphones. And I'm going to mute myself on... Let me mute myself on there. So now I think they can't hear me. All right, that's good. They're telling me they can't hear. And oh my goodness, they're off already. So let me put my earphones down. So what are we looking at? Well, Matt's got a 5 on the chop. So the first thing you really want to pay attention to is dangerous discards. They've clued ones. We play from the right. I think that was from the right. So Dave has played the first one. That's great. He will come back and play that next time. There is a multicolour 2 here. That could be played nicely after this. Other ones, there's a lot of gesticulation going on from them. Other ones are the green one, and that's about it. Usually we'd be careful to save 2s as well on the chop. You see there's a 2 here. But this yellow 2 is also here. So actually I'd be quite happy to lose that 2. And when Steve throws that away, Dave will immediately know that he's got that yellow 2. So that could be quite helpful later. All right, anyway, it's my turn. I should probably take a turn. I can't see anything better to do really than cluing the green 1. So I'm going to do that. I think that's probably our best option. Because Matt's obviously not going to throw away the 5 if he's playing the 1. Priority is always to play rather than discard. That would be insane. So Paul's thinking. Paul doesn't know he's got the 2, obviously. So he's looking around at the other cards. He won't be worried about the yellow 2 either. We don't want to clue Dave again. It's very important that you don't clue Dave again, because that will stop him playing the 1 normally. I obviously have a 5 on my chop, so Paul told me about my 5. That's good. I will hang on to that and won't discard it. And I've been clue blue. Now, usually, that was Steve that gave me the clue. Usually that would mean play, and I play my leftmost card. However, oh no, there is no however. I was going to say, we've already got the blue 1. So that's a straight play clue. Dave played his other 1, so I want to play this. Except Matt might throw away the 5. Matt never discards in practice. But there's always a first time. I just need to make sure he has a clue. As long as he has a clue he can give, we're okay. he would tell Paul about this. There's no way I think that Matt would discard in that situation. So I'm going to play. That is fine. We've got to hope that Matt doesn't discard and clues the 2. There we go, he did. Excellent. Now I need to watch this. In theory, I'll be playing my other blue card when it comes back to me. Our system is you play all. So I play the first blue card, then I play the second blue card. Unless I'm clued in some way that tells me to stop doing that. So Paul displays the 2. That was straightforward. Steve. Okay. He's clued Matt's 5, which frees me up to play. So Dave will probably discard at this point. There's nothing else I think that can be played. Now he might save Steve's 2, actually, having said that, because he doesn't know that he's got the yellow 2. We'll see what he does. If my next blue card is not playable, Dave will stop me. He's thinking, but that might be because he doesn't have much to do. Yeah, he saved the 2. He doesn't realise. But that's actually okay, because it means that when he discards his yellow 2, we don't need to worry about it, because it's now saved in Steve's hand. Nobody stopped me from playing. I don't need to worry about Matt discarding this red 3, so that is fine. I can play my next blue card. And it actually turned out to be a multicolour card. That's quite clever. Give them a thumbs up. They can still see me, even though they can't hear me. So what does Matt do? This is looking a bit rubbish now because there are no playable cards. So Matt really ought to discard unless I've got some playable cards. I'm obviously not going to be playing the 5. What? That is a Matt clue all over. It's one of those where everyone looks at it and goes, hey, oh no, hang on, I've seen it. It's all right. The issue is that Steve has the green 4. And if there were no playable cards, Steve might discard this one. There we go. And then Dave would discard that one. And then that would be like, oh no, we've lost both green 4s. So Matt, that was actually a good clue from Matt. He was effectively saving it, knowing that the other one would probably get discarded. Now what's been drawn? Paul drew the white 3. That's no good to us. Steve drew another red 4. That's also no good to us. Again, we need to watch out about discarding, like double discarding on the red 4. We don't want to lose both of them. But we can lose the yellow 2. That's fine. Oh, that is a playable card. Now, as soon as a playable card appears, the first thing you do is you look for the finesse. Okay? So although I could clue this, I'm not going to because the yellow 2 is there. Okay? Now, I'd actually then look and see, well, is the yellow 3 there? And I clue the yellow 3 if I can see it, because Steve will then realise it's the yellow 2. Now, in theory, it would be the job of one of us 3 to clue this. Okay, so although one of us is going to clue this finesse, it doesn't need to be me. And in fact, I might have the yellow 3 in my hand. And if it's the most recent card, if I discard, they could clue that, and we kind of get 3 cards played for the price of 1. So there's nothing else that needs to be clued here. There's nothing else dangerous, so I'm actually going to discard. That's fine. That is a blue 2. We've already played the blue 2. So Matt or Paul will definitely finesse this one out of Dave's hand by cluing Steve on the yellow 2, I would expect. As I say, unless I have the yellow 3, in which case they'll clue me on yellow. That would get Dave to play his 1, because Dave can't see the yellow 1. Then Steve would play his 2, because mine has the 3, and they've clued the 3 to be played. So you just sort of play the cards that fill the gaps, effectively. Matt's discarded, so he can't see anything. That means I'm not going to have the yellow 3. So Paul will definitely clue here, I would think. I would expect him to clue yellow on Steve. Steve would then discard. Dave would then play his yellow 1. When you're finesse like this, if you don't know, oh, look, you see, that is not necessarily, but probably the yellow 3. Okay, it could be multicolour. But that is effectively saying, like Dave looks at that and goes, well, if that's the multicolour 3, why has he clued that to be played? Oh, the yellow 2 has to be played first. Well, Steve would figure that out because he's got a 2 on his chop. It must mean I've got the 1. Oh, but he's not played it. Oh, no, sorry, that was Steve. That was Steve's clue. It's all right. So Steve clued me blue. Dave played his 1 because he realised I've got the 3. Now, I won't play my yellow card because I need to wait for Steve to play his first. Yeah, you have to follow them and play them in order. My blue card here, though, I've been clued, so really I should play. It might be multicolour. No, it can't be multicolour because it would have been flagged up by the yellow clue as well. So it must be the blue 3. It is. I always get a little bit nervous when the clues happen quite quickly. All right. So, again, Paul clued my yellow card, which I'm presuming is the yellow 3. That got Dave to play the yellow 1. It's always the most recent spot if you don't know anything else. Steve now realises, because I didn't play my yellow card, I know it can't be the yellow 2 because Steve has the yellow 2. So when it gets around to Steve, he will play his card. And then when it gets back around to me, I'll play the yellow card, which should be the yellow 3. Matt is cogitating. It's worth noticing that my blue 5 is close to getting played. If we get the blue 4 come out, that could be handy. Paul's got junk mostly in his hand. Matt's discarded, so he obviously can't see anything that's clued. Look, there is the blue 4. So as soon as that gets played, I know I can play my blue 5. It won't need cluing, which will be nice. So Paul's looking around. He won't want to clue Steve because Steve will just play the yellow 2. Dave has a safe discard with the blue 1. That's fine. We will definitely want to save it. Yeah, so he's just clued the blue 4. So Matt will play that when it gets around to him. So I'll be playing my yellow 3. Steve's played the yellow 2. There we go. Dave, if you can't see anything else, will probably discard. No, look, Steve's drawn the red 1. So again, the first thing Dave does is look for the finesse. So he won't be looking just to clue the red 1. He'll be looking, has anyone got the red 2? If I had the red 2, he would clue red on my hand. Nobody appears to, so he's just gone with the straight clue Steve on the 1. That's fine. It's back to me. So this, hopefully, is going to be the yellow 3. And it is. Okay, great. So that was quite a nice finesse because it got 3 cards played for 1 clue. Clue efficiency is what this is all about, really. There are other things, but it's a pretty important factor. Matt's been clued on the floor 4. It's not on his chop. A number clue on the chop, the card that you're about to discard next, would mean save. But because it was his first card, he's just going to play it. So no one needs to clue me. I know my 5 can be played. You might think, well, it could be a multicolour 5, but remember I was clued yellow earlier on my hand, so I know this is definitely blue. It couldn't be the multicolour 5 because it would flag up as multicolour if when the yellow clue is given. So Paul's looking around. Steve's just going to play the 1. Dave has a safe discard. He's clued 4s. Now, that's interesting. We want to save the red card, but there's no real rush to that because Steve's going to play the 1 anyway. It might be that he's actually trying to save the white 4 as well. And it could be because I've got the white 4 on my chop. Because otherwise that's a weird clue. Why would you save the white 4? Like looking at the discards, we don't need to save the white 4. If we chuck it away, it's fine. But if I'm going to be throwing away the white 4 soon, that might be why he's done it. Because Steve will just save those cards. Steve might be a bit confused by that. In fact, if you look at the his picture, this is Steve's, oh, I don't know what to do face. But normally the 1 clue would just mean play. And he's come to the conclusion that yes, it must be play. And he will just hang on to those 4s, I think, because it was number on the chop. The white card is on the chop, and you don't play any of them. You just save them all. When you clue number on the chop, you save the lot. Steve's just drawn the red 2. That's good. We need the red 2. You'll notice we've got the 2, 3, and 4 in white. If only we had the white 1, that would be grand. I'm really not sure about Paul's clue. Because I wouldn't be discarding next anyway, because I'm going to play him a 5. Okay, he's clued 2. Now, I'm just going to play because there's no point me doing anything else. Matt has a safe discard, and we'll get a clue back when I play the 5. But ordinarily, number on the chop means save. It's very difficult with 5 players because you've only got 3 cards. So that should mean a save clue. But Steve will look at it and go, well, the only one we actually would save will be the white 2, but Dave's holding the white 2, so Steve will probably interpret that as a play clue. It'd be a bit crazy to try and save this when Dave has a safe discard before he gets close to discarding the white 2. So Steve will look at Dave's hand and go, yeah, I don't think that's the white 2, and he should play it. It's not a dead cert, I have to say, but I think Steve will play. Cluing red would have made more sense to me. Don't know why he wasn't clued red, because then he would definitely play it. That would make it really obvious. And it would also tell him that this is a red 4, which is important to know because we've lost one of the red 4s. The slight confusion is if you do clue red, you're kind of saying to play the red 4 as well, which would sort of imply that I had the red 3. I think they were wanting to avoid the confusion there. Now we should look at what's been drawn. The green 3 is no good because we're missing the 2. The multicolour 4 we need. So again, you should be looking for the finesse. Is the multicolour 5 out there? It's not. Danger, danger. Steve's drawn a white 5 and it's on his chop. It's going to be a long time before we get that play because we haven't got any white cards out yet. So we definitely want to save the 5. You can just clue Steve 5 there and he would definitely save that. He wouldn't interpret it as a play this time because there's only one 5. So it'd be too dangerous to risk playing that. If he tries to play the white 2 and it's a misfire, it doesn't really matter because we've got the other white 2. So Matt, we've got him to save. The yellow 5's been ticking through his hand. If we lose the green 3, that is okay because we haven't lost the other green 3. Paul has a safe discard. I think we just want a clue to get this played. What probably makes most sense is if I clue to get this one played, and then Matt will clue to save Steve's 5, and then Dave can discard. It's worth kind of following it through, who's going to do what as you go through before you kind of pull the trigger on any clues. So I'm going to clue 4, that just says play. Matt will then look at Steve's hand and go, oh, we need to save the 5, hopefully. We've got one clue left here. Again, it's always worth paying attention to the clues. If I'd left Matt without any clues, that would be bad. But if Matt clues, he uses the last clue. Paul plays. Steve. Oh, there's a thing. And I'll tell you what, I didn't think that through. Steve would have to save his whole hand, so he'd need to give a clue. But if Matt clues him to save the 5, he doesn't have any clues left. He's done it. So I'll tell you what will probably happen. Paul, although I've told him to play this card, will probably discard the 1, and that says basically to Steve, you need to keep your whole hand, and it also will get a clue back for Steve. So Paul shouldn't play here. I probably should have thought that through before we got to this point. You can see how it can get tricky sometimes. So hopefully there we go. He's discarded when he should have played. So Steve's like, oh, okay, I've really got a bad hand. And they give Steve a clue, and it doesn't really matter what Steve clues at this point. He can clue anything he likes. It's not necessarily going to be taken as a play clue. We just know that Steve has to give a clue so that he doesn't discard any of his cards. Although I still can't understand what the issue is with the white 4. I don't know why that was ever clued. But as I said, it could be in my hand. So Steve's looking around. You don't want to clue Dave's 2 yet. If you were to clue the 2, that would be a finesse. You'd be saying that effectively I have the white 1, and so if I don't, you can't clue it. You can clue would you clue a 1 here? Again, you might think it's the white 1. That would be a bit crazy, but it's tricky. Like, what do you clue? Nothing's playable, but you've got to give a clue. He might save the 3 on the chop of Paul's hand. That would be something. Particularly because we've got the 2. As soon as the white 1 comes up, we can play the 2 and the 3. But if Paul discards the 3, then it's going to take much longer to get through the whites. Because we've actually got the 2, 3, 4, and 5 of white. So we might look at the 3 and go, we don't need to. Oh my goodness. So Steve is nonplussed. But for some reason, he discarded the 4. And I'll tell you why he did it. I think it was Paul's clue, actually, that was the issue there. Because Steve will be thinking that the 4 on the chop is the important card he needs to save. And the other one is like collateral saving, if you like. So he thinks that that one is the least important one. So Steve probably thought it was a safe discard. Although when Paul discards to leave Steve with a clue, that should tell him he should be cluing, I think. But what does he clue? That's probably what he's saying now. He's going, what do I clue? So Dave discarded his 1. That was a safe discard. That's fine. Now we've lost both the red 4s, unfortunately. So that suit is dead, which means Matt's red 5. We can forget about that. We just don't need it. Paul is going to be playing this 4 when it gets back to him. Nobody's drawn anything that's any good, so I just discard. Let's see, is this the white 4? It is. So that's why Paul gave the clue. So it makes sense. I mean, I can see it all now. He needed to say the white 4 because I was going to discard it. I just wonder if he needed to do it so early. I think he perhaps gave the clue a bit too early. Maybe. But he was trying to save both of them. So I think Paul should have waited a bit later and only saved the red 4. And then someone else should have saved the white 4 in my hand as Steve discarded the white 4. Then both of our hands are not so cluttered. Having said all that, when Paul discards the 1, Steve should include. I don't think he should have discarded. But what clue does he give? That's what he'll be saying. He'll be saying, what clue do I give? Yeah, it's very hard not to be misleading because for us, clue means play most of the time, and you don't want to be saving rubbish. Right, so Paul has played the one he was expecting him to play because we clued him on it ages ago. Steve now has a safe discard. We've got loads of clues back because now we've just got lots of junk in our hands. So he saved Dave's 2. Yeah, we generally save 2 because if you lose a white 2, let's say, and the other white the matching 2, because there's 2 cards, 2 of each 2. Or if the other one's on the bottom of the deck, we're stuffed. We can't win. Dave's got a safe discard in his next slot though, so these hands are clogging up a bit. You can see 5-5, 5-4, 2-4. And we do need to keep all those cards except for the red 5. Well, what do you know? There it is. So this is very straightforward. I should ask whether or not it should be me that's giving the clue, but Matt has a safe discard, so it's fine, and we need to clue Paul. What I want to do is for Dave to play the 1, then play the 2, then Paul to play the 3, then Steve to play the 4, and then Steve to play the 5. Now, the only one that anyone doesn't know anything about is the 3. So I'm actually going to clue the 3. I clue white, and that basically says to everyone, ta-da, super finesse. So that will get Dave to play his white 1, because he looks around and goes, Paul's been clued white, but that's not the white 1. If he plays it, we would misfire. And then, so when it comes round to him, that he will play his 1. And then he will also assume, because he can't see the white 2 and I clued the 3, that he must have the white 2 as well, so he will play his 2, because no one else has been clued on the 2, so Dave will play it when it comes back to him. Then Paul will finally play his white 3. We do have to clue Steve on his white card so that he knows to play them after that, because all he knows is a 4 and a 5. He doesn't. The white clue on Paul doesn't tell Steve that his cards are white, so Matt gave that clue to Steve, which is fine. He discards his blue card, which we didn't need. He's just drawn the red 3. That's quite important. It's going to take quite a long time to get all these white cards played because we've got to wait until Dave plays his 2. So as soon as Steve draws the red 3, he won't be playing the white cards anytime soon. So we're looking for the finesse. Is the red 4 there? No, we've lost the red 4. So it's dead. Who cares about any of the other red cards? All we want to do really is clue the red 3. Should it be me that clues? Everyone's got safe discards here. I'm just going to do it because I know Matt's got a safe discard. Paul's got a safe discard. I probably have a safe discard as well. If they weren't safe, I would discard to leave them with a clue. So me cluing tells them that they've got safe discards. So that's another helpful thing that you can do. Notice Matt's finally drawn the green 2. We've been waiting for that. And pay attention here, okay? Paul just clued green on Dave. That says play the green 4. But hang on, we don't even have the 2 or the 3 yet. So Steve played the red 2 because I clued it. That means Matt's got the green 2. The green 3 must be there. Because he clued the green 4, there must be a green 3 out there. And because I can't see it anywhere else, I have to have it. And the default assumption is it's always in your most recent spot. So my most recent card should be the green 3. Now we need to keep track of this. I don't need to clue the 2. Matt knows he can't see the 2 anywhere else, although Dave's just drawn it. When it was clued, he couldn't see it. So Matt will be playing his green 2. Paul has a safe discard. In fact, he's going to be playing the white 3 because we've got the 2 out now. Then Steve will play the white 4. We don't care if Dave discards the blue 3, so I'm just going to discard, remembering that my most recent card, which now slides into my middle position, is the green 3. So we have to remember that. This is quite hard sometimes to keep track of all the different positions when it wasn't clued on your hand directly. So the white 3 gets played. Now the white 4 should get played. Dave can't play his green 4 because I've got the green 3. So he should just discard or clue. He could clue. We've got loads of clues now. That's the green 5. You don't really want to do that now because you'll probably think it's like it could be multicolored, you see, even if you clue green. And that would clue his whole hand. That would be a terrible clue. I think Dave should just discard at this point. What else do we need? We need the yellow 4. If I had the yellow 4, it'd be worth cluing that in my hand. But I think you just let Paul discard a couple of cards before cluing his green card, because it's still a while away before we want to get that played. Dave is giving it some thought. Dave is a thoughtful guy, that is for sure. I can't see what the issue is, which means the issue is probably in my hand. Oh my goodness. He's done exactly what I said he shouldn't have done. Now Paul has to figure out, if you look at Paul's face, Paul is now looking at all the other hands, trying to work out which 5 is that. Now, it can't be the red 5, it can't be the yellow 5, because those are in Matt's hand. It can't be the blue 5, because we've already played it. So in theory, it could be the white 5, or the green 5, or the multicolour 5. Those are his 3 options. Now, if I had the white 5 and the multicolour 5 in my hand, then that would be a fine clue, because Paul would know that it's green. I'd be very surprised if I've got both of those 5s in my hand. So Paul's thinking, what in the world is that? Anyway, I am going to be playing my green 3. Remember, it's in the middle slot. There it is. I misclicked. I misclicked. Oh, yeah, I misclicked. That was meant to be a play, but I clicked on discard. I don't think I've ever done that before. So sorry, I've just thrown it all away. That it was a misclick. I was meant to play. At least we knew it was a green 3, and then Dave would play his 4, and I've ruined it all. This is what you call the cake game. So I need to beg their forgiveness for that one. Yes. Well, what do we do now? Well, now we just try and finish. We've only got 5 cards left anyway. Learn from our mistakes. Come out fighting for the next one. So, unfortunately, Paul, who knows what he's going to do with that one? Matt's like looking at Paul, I think, thinking, what's he going to do with that card? Because in theory, that should be a play clue. It should be the white 5 or the multicolour 5. I can't believe I misclicked. I really think that's the first time I've ever misclicked. Matt is known for misclicking. Wasn't concentrating. Well, anyway, what's Matt going to do? He's clue 5. Now, we know that is the white or the multicolour 5. So we're definitely going to play that one. We're not going to discard it. And Paul obviously figured out that that was the green one and has thrown it away now because it's useless because I threw away the green 3. All right. The white... Oh, I tell you what else I missed. I missed the fact that Steve had the white 5 all along. So that's how Paul knew that his 5 was actually green, because he could see all the other 5s because the multicolour 5, which is what this one is, was in my hand. So that was a good clue by... Was it Dave that clued that one? Right. Now I'm going to play... Oh, hang on. Yes, right. Just be aware. The yellow clue here is actually finessing the yellow 4 that Steve has drawn. Okay, so I can play my multicolour 5. Got it right this time. And Matt won't play his yellow 5 because he can see it's a finesse on Steve's yellow 4. He also knows that the other 5 is rubbish, so he may just discard it because we've lost the 4s. And then I think that'll be it. So he's trying to play the multicolour 3 for some reason. I have no idea why he did that. That was a mistake. Steve has got the yellow 4 and has played the yellow 4. And that's it. I think we've played all the cards we can because we're throwing away the green 3. I threw away the green 3. Steve threw away the red 4. And the only one left to play is the yellow 5, which is in Matt's hand. So I can just discard. There's no point in me doing anything. In fact, I'm going to put my headphones back in now. We're going to rejoin the rest of them. I'll make sure I turn their audio up. We will have a discussion about what foolish moves we've made.
Yeah.
Reprimand.
Right, I've unmuted you on the stream so now everyone can hear you. And now
Oh
I
my
can see
God.
all the errors. I misclicked.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can't be anything else.
Yeah. We were saying he either misclicked or lost his bloody mind.
Like I was telling everyone that means this is the green 2. We have to be very careful to follow it as it moves to our hand, and then whoops,
And
I
then
just
throw it away.
Yeah. So obviously the other issue early on was
I threw a 4 away.
yeah. No, I was commenting on it, and it made sense from my point of view. When Paul gave the clue, he was saving the white 4 and the red 4, and I was looking at it going, but we don't need to save the white 4. Why is he? I can see the red 4 issue.
Bear in mind, I also had a playable card.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I actually, the first thing I thought is that both 4s were playable, because there were 2 playable 4s at the time. I'm thinking, why is he bothering saving a 4 now?
Yeah.
So from my perspective, and this is different from you, so you were playing the blue suit at the time, right?
Yeah.
And you had the blue 5 clued in your hand, but you hadn't received any other color clues, and I didn't know if you would continue with that 5. I assumed you probably would, but you knew that from earlier, and it could have been the multicolor 5. So
at some point I've been included yellow, I think. So I
oh, did you?
I
Okay, well, I missed that then. I didn't know that you knew it was the blue 5. So the problem was that you also had the white 4 on your chop. So there were 2 white 4s both on chops.
Oh, so if I don't know to play the blue one, I can discard the
Yeah,
white one. Yeah.
but the argument is that you and I were not next to each other. So if I throw the white 4 away, then Dave jumps in. And the argument for against cluing my 4s is it clogs my hand up. But he got 3
It
cards.
does, as we saw.
And so when Paul tried to rectify it by discarding to give me a clue,
Yes.
yeah, I'm like, okay. And I looked at everyone's hand. I'm like, I've got nothing to give. And we've only got 1 clue left. So I can either waste a clue doing nothing or, well, the only 4 that was savable, bear in mind, at this point, you still hadn't thrown the white 4 away.
Yeah.
The only 4 that needs saving is the red one, in which case the red one has to be in the end. And if my other one's white, then Dave will still have time to save it.
Yes.
So I thought, oh, just throw the middle one away. It can't be
The other way
red.
around.
That is, I think I'd pretty much figured all that out. I was commentating through all of this, and I said, Steve must think he's got no decent clue to give. He must think the one in the middle is safe because it's the one on the end he needs to save. And I was like, and I must have the white 4. That's the only reason Paul gave the clue.
Yeah, because there's a space between those 2 white 4s, I probably should have just left it. I probably should have just discarded.
Yeah.
Oh no, when I've got
and also because he was playing, not going to be discarding that turn anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, lesson learned.
If you are watching live, commentate along. You can actually play with Jonathan now.
Yeah.
So if he's stuck with a decision, like whether to play or discard the green 3, for example, you can dive in and say, make sure to play it this time.
So that's our cake game out of the way. Nothing but stellar play from here on out.
I think Dave played pretty well.
Yeah.
Have you explained to the viewers what a cake game is?
Yes, I did.
That's an in-joke. Cool.
Yes, it's when... Well, I didn't explain all the details of Dave's cake eating, but yeah, our first game never goes very well. Right.
I like cake.
Dave.
That's the background they need.
I was commentating and saying that Dave's always very thoughtful when he plays, which is probably why he doesn't make any mistakes. Right, so let me get this right. I'm going
to... Be careful now.
I'm going to mute my audio from you guys. I'm muting you guys from the stream. And then I remove my headphones. And then in theory, everyone at home can hear me. But no one else can. And you can't hear them. Really hope this works. So what have we got? Right, check the chops. First of all, Paul has a 5 on the chop. Is there anything else that we need to save? No, doesn't look like it. That's a finesse, I'll tell you right away, because Steve has a blue on the most recent slot, and I was clued blue. That will be a blue 2. Other things to watch to save for are 2s on the chop. So you see Steve's got a multicolour 2 on the chop. We would want to save that, except again, notice, Paul also has the matching 2. So we actually don't need to save that anytime soon, although Paul doesn't realise that. So Paul may save this too, not realising. Dave looks around. There's a white one that needs to be played and a yellow one. I'm playing my blue 2 if nothing else happens by the time it gets to me. Dave doesn't realise that he's got the white 2. We can't finesse it this way around, though. Yeah, you can only get them to play the most recent card. So although you'd kind of want to clue this one to get them to play the white 1, that's not going to work. He would play the green 4, which would be bad. So he's just clued a straight yellow 1. That's fine. Now this is tricky. Dave didn't realise he had the 2, you see. If I play the blue 2, there's no blue 3 or any other card to come after it. So although I know I can play it, it's not that high a priority, I don't think. I haven't got any other blue cards in my hand, so I can't have the blue 3. But if we get the white 1 played now, then we can clue Dave on his white 2, and that's like better from a tempo point of view. Otherwise you'd have to wait an entire round. Matt would faff around doing who knows what, and then we'd get it played on the next time. So I don't want to clue white, let me get it right and not misclick. I'm going to clue 1 on Matt's hand rather than playing. And everyone except Dave will realise that I've clued that so that Dave's white 2 can be clued. And in fact, this is particularly good because it can be finessed. Yeah. When Matt plays that, we can clue Matt's white card and it will get Dave to play his 2 here. Now we're not worried about saving Steve's 2 because Steve now has this amazing clue. He can clue the white on Matt, get Dave to play the 2, and then my clue on the white 1, everyone will be like, oh, that's why he didn't play his card, include the white 1 instead. Because that works out quite well. He's thinking though, what is he thinking? He's thinking, I'll tell you what, that Paul's got a 5 on the chop. And he might also be thinking that we'll lose the multicolour 2. Now, none of us need to worry about that. But again, I don't have to play, and I know I don't have to play. I think Steve would trust. Oh, really? That should have been a finesse. Surely. But I can't see any reason why you wouldn't finesse that. Like, because Matt doesn't have to play the card, but you're telling him he can play it. I don't understand that one. As it stands, Dave should play because he doesn't know which 2 it is. I will play my blue 2. Then Matt, who doesn't know what he's got, will save Paul's 5. Paul might throw away the multicolour 2. In fact, no, he won't realise, so he's going to save Steve's 2. So what's Steve's expression? Have they chided him for it? Yeah, there's a slight confrontational expression there, so I suspect they were like, what? So I just played I don't see any issues with this. So I play that. Matt will save Paul's 5, and then Paul will probably save Steve's 2, unless there's other playable cards. Have we got anything else we can play? There's the green 1. That's not a priority because there's no green 2. Saving the 5 is much more important, obviously. Cluing the white 1 was important because the white 2 was there, but the green 2 is not there. I mean, it might be in my hand, but in which case they could finesse it. So we'll see. But Matt should really save Paul's 5, I would think. Can't see any other playable cards. Except obviously for Matt's hand. Matt's got the white 3 now. But why wasn't it finessed? Should have been finessed. It's not the end of the world, but it means it's taken 2 clues to get these cards played rather than just 1. Yeah, if we clued Matt white, Dave would have played his 2. And then Matt would have played his 3 for only 1 clue. That's what you're really aiming for. Clue efficiency. Now, why is Matt thinking for so long? He knows that Paul and Steve won't both discard. Surely. Yeah, so he just clues the 5, that's right. Now, Paul won't discard because he thinks he has to save Steve's 2. He ought to clue 2 on the chop. Unless I've got the multicolour 1 in my most recent spot, he could finesse the 2. That would be great. But I suspect he'll just clue... Oh, he hasn't. Okay, so that's very interesting. He must know that Steve has a clue. Well, that's interesting as well. I mean, I guess he's relying on Steve cluing Matt. Although there's no guarantee Steve would clue Matt. I think that was very dangerous behaviour from Paul. Steve has actually clued Dave on the blue 4, but Dave then looks around and says, is the blue 3 here? Oh, it is. So it's actually a finesse on Paul's 3. So Paul will play the blue 3, and then when he comes back to Dave, he will play the blue 4. Now, if you don't know if you noticed, But that was a 0 clue on me, okay? I can actually see in the log here. Dave giving me a clue of 4. Okay, now I don't have any 4s, so we call it a 0 clue because you don't have any. And in general, that means play your most recent card. However, now this is really tricky because Matt has the green 1 in his most recent spot. So I should actually take this as a finesse. Yeah, you shouldn't play. Even though I know nothing about that card, he's telling me to play that card. But it could be the green 2, in which case I should not play. I should discard or do something else. And then that tells Matt, oh, he's got the one that comes before that one, and then Matt will play his card. So I could discard. I'd be discarding my middle card because it's the end card I've been told to play. Or I could clue Matt 3, like white on the end here. I don't need to. If I do that, he should still play the 1 because then I play my 2. Paul plays the 3. Steve then might discard. So it's too risky. So what I ought to do is save Steve's 2. Because then Matt will play, because it's been finessed from mine. Even if mine is a playable card, Matt should still play, because the only reason I would not play is because I think it's finesse. So Paul then would play, Steve then has saved discards, and then Dave would play. So it's very important in that situation that I save Steve's 2, because we've lost the other multicolour 2. Definitely need to save this one. Matt, it's really tricky with 0 clues and finessing. Very difficult combination. Everyone has to be on the ball for this. It's whether or not Matt realises that the only reason I haven't played my end card, the one on my top, my rightmost card, is because I think it's finesse. Because I could have just played and Matt could have saved Steve's 2, knowing that Paul would play and then Dave would play. So Matt should play. We'll see. It should all work out fine. Even if my card isn't the green 2, though, and it's playable, the fact that I've discarded should force Matt to play. And when it comes back to me, I'll play. So my card might be the, who knows, the red 1, for instance. But that would still get Matt to play. There we go. He's played it. He's played it. That still gets Matt to play his green 1. Now, Paul should play his blue 3. Steve then can do whatever he likes. Dave would play his blue 4, and then I will play my chop card. That's what the 0 clue means. Because I was waiting for the finesse. Paul is hesitating, though, which seems to suggest that there are other issues, and I can't see any other issues with the rest of the hand. Maybe he's thinking about what happens when it gets around to Matt's turn again. He should just clue white on Matt's hand, and then Matt plays the white 3. The blue 2 is no good that he's drawn. We've already played that one. What is he thinking? He's got to know that I'm playing, so he doesn't need to save anything in my hand immediately. If I've got a red 4 on my middle card, if you like, that might be the issue, because Steve's about to throw away the red 4 potentially. But Steve is going to have a clue. Only 1 clue, mind. But still, if there's anything that needed doing, I can't imagine Paul would clue here. That would be crazy. He's thinking very hard. I know not about what, though. My jumper is slightly... I use a green screen behind me, and my jumper is just slightly green. Like, it's close enough to the green screen, there you go, that it just kind of fades out of existence sometimes. It's a little chilly in here, though, so I don't want to take it off. I'm sure you can live with a slightly fading out jumper. What's Paul doing? Come on, Paul. You see, he's got a pensive look on his face. What to do, what to do. He's played, finally. Now, he's just drawn the multicolour 5. You should also always pay attention to what people draw, but that's useless because we haven't even got the multicolour 1 played. And Steve has clued, as we might have expected, the white 3 in Matt's hand. So Matt will just play it. So Dave should play, I should play my chop card, Matt should play, Paul then would discard because he won't have any clues, which is fine. He discards the blue 1, we don't need that. And then Steve has a clue, you see, and he can clue Dave's white 4 that he's playing next. So I think we're fine. I'm not going to discard. I'm going to play. There we go, and it was the red one. So that was really nice, because even though it wasn't a finesse, me thinking it might be a finesse and doing something else still got Matt to play the 1. So it still got 2 cards played with 1 clue. It's clever, that. So yes, and it's hard, really hard for Matt to figure that out. Because I was clued and I didn't play. Well, why not? And you have to kind of think it through. It must be because he thinks it's finesse. It's not a finesse, but the fact that I think it's a finesse means he can play the card. Now, that's what it's all about. That's one of the reasons I love this game. It can be very clever sometimes. All right, so it's back to Paul. He's got no clue, so he has to discard. He's obviously not discarding the 5 on his chop, so he will discard the blue 1, and then it'll be Steve's go. Now, Matt's just drawn the red 2. That's good. Again, remember, as soon as a card is drawn, you're looking for the finesse. You're not looking just to clue red on Matt's hand. You're looking for, where's the red 3? So if I had the red 3 in my hand, for instance, you clue me on red, and then that would get Matt to play his red 2. Yep, there's the discard. So what's Steve going to do? We don't really want to lose the white 4. He's discarded. That's interesting. Having said that, notice that Paul has drawn the white 4, so it doesn't matter if Dave throws his away. There's no urgency to play the white 4. But he just wanted to get some clues back, which is probably sensible. Dave, I don't really want to lose those 3s. There's no other danger cards that I can see. And I've had no clues on my hand. So it looks like the finesse is not on because... Oh, okay, so they've saved my 5. That's fine. So the finesse is not on. Priority in terms of clearing cards is always to get the lowest cards played first. So we could... Oh, hang on. Ooh, I tell you what, slight issue here, which is probably what Steve has thought through and why he discarded. Because my 5 needs saving and Paul's 5 needs saving. The danger here is that we might lose the white 4s. Now, if I clue 4 on Paul's hand, he would play it, because it's not on the chop, which means he wouldn't be discarding the 5. Matt would be forced to discard the green 4, but that's fine. There are 2 green 4s, and it's a long time before we need to play it. Steve potentially discarding the yellow 4, which is also fine, really. And then if Dave discards the white 4, that's fine, because Paul's played the other white 4. So I think my best option actually is to clue that. That effectively saves Paul's 5. Really, we want to get the red 2 played first. But you see, if I clue the red 2 and Matt plays it, then Paul discards the 5. If I clue the red 2 and Matt doesn't play it, because he doesn't have any clues, he can't save the 5. Now he's actually, yeah, he's discarded. Well, he was forced to discard. But you see, if I clue him, he can't then save Paul's 5 anyway. There's no point in me cluing Matt because he can't play. So there we go. And it came around to Steve. So Paul played the white 4. Steve has saved the 5. And now if Dave throws away the other white 4, we're okay. We're out of the woods. That was a tricky situation. So now we're looking to get the cards played. It's a shame that this 2 is no longer in the Matt's most recent spot, because we would have a finesse on otherwise, because the red 3 has just popped up. But that's not the end of the world. Matt actually has a safe discard again. We need to be very careful of clues and discards. So I'm just going to go through and check. If Matt discards, it's fine. If Paul discards, it's fine. If Steve discards, it's not great, but it's okay. I'm less keen about Dave discarding because 3s are more important than 4s. More cards get blocked if you lose a 3 early, which is lower down in the deck. So if I clue Matt's card he plays, that forces Paul to discard, which is fine. Steve has a clue and then can clue Dave, so Dave won't discard. So I think we're going to go with that. We don't need to do anything else in Matt's hand, so I'm just going to clue red there. Okay, we're good. That should be safe. Matt's got no clues. He doesn't need to discard because Paul's discard, his chop, is safe. And Steve would then have a clue. Yep, so Matt just plays. Paul is forced to discard, so that should be nice and quick. Although Paul always tends to think for a few seconds, even on the quick moves. Steve has a clue. Would prefer Dave not to discard, but he will try and finesse if he can, because that red 3 is actually in Dave's most recent spot, which is now playable. So if there's a red 4 on, in my hand, obviously, because it's not in anyone else's hand, he would clue red on me, and then Dave would play the red 3, and I would play the red 4, and that would be great. Got to be super careful with the clues, though. You can see why clue efficiency becomes very important, because if you run out of clues, it becomes very difficult. So you want to maximize every clue you can. Get as much use out of it as you possibly can. If Steve clues Dave's red 3, which he has done, then that forces me to discard. So Steve will have been checking my discard slot. And if Dave plays, then my discard's definitely safe. It might not be ideal, but it's definitely not going to kill us. That's the theory. So Dave's trying to weigh up, can we really lose my discard? Yeah, it turns out we can. I've got no clues left, so I discard to blue 3. Oh, that was fine. That was completely safe. We've already had the blue safe. And Matt's discard is safe as well, so I don't really know what they were all thinking about for so long. A multicolour 1 would be nice about now. So what have they all drawn? He's got another green 3, which is useless. It'd be nice to keep the yellow and the green 3 in Dave's hands, because as soon as those 2s pop up, we're going to want to play them straight away. Steve's hand, we can discard the yellow and the multicolour 4 quite happily. That really doesn't matter. Paul's got a safe discard. Matt's got a hand of junk, pretty much. We need to just watch out on the multicolour 4s. Yeah, you've got 2 multicolour 4s, so we don't want to discard both of those. Matt's drawn the blue 5, which is playable. That's quite nice. Gets us a clue back. I suspect we're going to get a lot of discarding now. We don't generally save 3s, so it's a bit frustrating, but clearing 3 on Dave's hand, it would mean save because it's a number on the chop, and it would save his entire hand. The problem is that it just immediately clogs up everything in his hand. He's discarded. I think we're all hoping that we draw the green or the yellow 2, but it's not happening. Paul's drawn the green 4. Now then. Okay, so I've got the multicolour 1. Dave will discard the yellow 3 then, I think. He's going to look at the discards. He's going to look at, I'll tell you what, Paul's drawn the green 4, which is not a safe discard because we've lost the green 4, so that needs saving. Matt will save it when he gets around to him. We've also got Matt's playable. Okay, Dave saved it. That's okay. Now, if I play this, Matt has a safe discard, and then Steve knows he can play that too. He doesn't need to know which 2 it is. Any remaining 2 is playable. So I play that one. I know the other one is a safe discard, which is handy. I'm not sure. They could, in theory, they could have finessed that. It's tricky though, because if you try and finesse Steve's hand with colour, for example, it's going to flag up the multicolour 4, which we really don't want to do because we've got no multicolour 3. Paul has a completely clogged hand, so we have to leave him with clues. He has to be able to clue every time now. That's quite important. What's he going to clue? He doesn't need to clue Steve. He knows that. So he's just cluing Matt's 5, which is playable. It's not a high priority, but he gets us a clue back. It's quite nice. And look, oh no, don't tell me it's going to be too late. If anyone else but Dave's turn was next, then they would finesse Dave's yellow 3 to get Steve to play the yellow 2. Technically, you're finessing the yellow 2 by cluing Dave's yellow 3. But he might just discard, thinking someone else should give the clue. And he'd be right to do that. Particularly because he wants to. Yeah, he's discarded. I thought he might do. It's the right decision, but it's unlucky. Well, it's me. I've got 2 clues. My other one's obviously not playable. We've got all the ones played. Matt knows what he's doing. He's playing the 5. And interestingly, we want to play the green 2, then the green 3, and then the green 4. So what I actually do, I think, is clue green on Paul's hand. Matt will play his 5, which gets a clue back. And then Paul will not play because he sees the green 2 is here. And he will clue Steve's hand to get Steve to play the yellow 2. Now, when I clue this, it's also going to flag up Paul's multicolour 5. We need to be careful about that because that card is not playable. He will probably think it's green, which doesn't matter at the moment. But if it comes back round to Paul after he's eventually played the 4, because it's going to take a long time for him to play that green 4. But once Dave's played his 2 and his 3, then Paul will play the 4, and then he will try and play that 5 unless the green 5 shows up in someone else's hand. Then he'll obviously know, or we would have to give him another clue to stop him playing that and tell him it's actually a multicolour 5. But look, the multicolour 3 has just popped up. That's great. So the only issue now is that yellow 3 that we've just discarded. That could be bad for us. So yeah, that's cluing. He's clued a lot of yellows on that. That is interesting. Now, why didn't he just clue 2? I think it's because he wants Steve to play the multicolour 4 next. So effectively, because he could have just clued 2 and then Steve plays the 2. The fact that he's clued yellow means he wants Steve to play the next card as well, because we have a play all system. You clue, you just keep playing all of them. So he's effectively telling Steve to play the yellow 2 and then to play the multicolour 4. Now, the only way that's going to work is if somebody else, I've got another 5, if someone else has the multicolour 3. So it's actually a clue on Matt telling him to play his card. Now, Dave's played his green 2. I clued the green 4 though, so Dave should know that he also has the green 3, and it will be the next card along. Otherwise, I wouldn't have given that clue. So Dave is now tracking that his middle card is the next card that he needs to play. I've got new clothes left, and I should look at the 5s though. What colour are my 5s in case one of them is playable? The blue 5 is playable, the white 5 is playable, but I can only see the multicolour and the yellow 5s. So I could have the red 5, or the white 5, or the green 5. So I should definitely not be playing. I've got 2 of them. I don't know. I might have the white one. Who knows? But I'm going to be discarding my 1 because I really don't know. At some point I'll get a clue, but it's worth tracking to try and work out what 5s you've got, because you may be able to play it without being given a clue. Again, it's all about the clue efficiency. So Matt should play. Now this is a difficult one. He should play his multicolour 3, but it's very hard to see this. It's because Steve... It's because of Paul's clue on Steve. The logic is that he'll play his yellow 2, which is fine, but Paul could have clued 2. So he's telling Steve, I also want you to play the multicolour 4, and the only place it can be is the most recent slot in Matt's hand. From his point of view, it couldn't be anywhere else. So he's actually played the blue 5 first. I don't think that's the end of the world because he gets a clue back, and that might have been what he's thinking. But Matt has to track now that that's the multicolour 3. And as I say, this is hard to spot. He might have missed it. It's really hard to spot these sometimes when you're in their position. Now, Paul can't. He's not going to play because he can see the green 3. He's going to wait for Dave to play the green 3. And he can't discard anything because the other cards are 5s. So he's got 2 clues. He's going to give a clue. There's no point cluing Steve because Steve's already got all the clues in the world. There's no point cluing Dave because he's going to play his green 3. He might be thinking, has Matt missed it? Do I need to clue Matt now? He could clue white or something, or just 3. There you go. So he's obviously thought Matt missed it. So in an ideal world, we wouldn't have needed that clue, but I think Matt was not entirely convinced that that was the multicolour 3. I think it was clear. I think it was a very nice clue from Paul, his yellow clue. But it's hard. It's hard sometimes to trust. It's like, really? Have I really got it? Because you don't want to throw away a random card. Okay, so they've clued yellow on Paul, which basically tells him which way round his 5s are. Now, neither of them are playable. In theory, that's a play clue, you know. There's no reason to clue it otherwise. Dave played Notice the green 3 out of the middle slot. That was very nicely done. Dave's got a hand of junk. Don't need to worry about Dave. Steve still isn't playing his cards. In theory, Steve should be playing his yellow 2. He knows that, but he's just prioritising. Why did he clue? He clued yellow on Paul. If that's a play clue, He's not telling Dave to play. Okay, let's go through them. He obviously can't be telling himself to play. He's not. Well, in theory, he's telling Paul to play, but you can see Paul already knows he's going to be playing Screen 4, and so that clue isn't telling him anything about that. That was like a previous order, if you like. Paul's just going to do that. So he's telling him to play either the yellow 5 or the multicolour 5. And Steve could have played his 2. Cluing now makes me think I've got a playable card in my most recent spot. Because Matt's been clued, he's going to play. So what are the possibilities? What could I have? You see, I mean, this is a bit naughty, really, from Steve's point of view. But I think I have to take that as a play clue. I have no idea what I've got in my most recent spot. It doesn't appear to fill the gap, but it's just an insane clue otherwise. Like, why in the world would you clue yellow on Paul's hand? It's just not necessary. Not for a long time, anyway. You wait until after Paul's played the 4, and then you can stop him if you need to. Because the 3 gets played, the 4 gets played. I mean, maybe I've got the red 4 on my most recent spot. And Steve's just trying to get me to play it. Well, we're going to have faith, and we're going to play. I'm really not sure about this. No. Oh well. We haven't lost anything. I mean, we lost a life, but we've got 3 lives. That was based on Steve's clue. I don't like that clue. He should have just played, particularly when it's a yellow clue in his own hand. He doesn't know what yellow cards he's got in his hand. He doesn't know if they're multicolour or not. I don't like that clue. But Matt played. Now Paul plays. Now Steve should really play. Thank you, Steve. And then Dave's got junk, so he'll discard. And then it comes back to me. And I guess we want to be cluing. Matt's hand is full of junk. That's fine. Paul has a safe discard. Steve should just play his multicolour 4. Can I work out what I've got? I don't think I can work out my 5s. I mean, one of them could be white. So it's red, green, and white are the issues. So one of my 5s is playable, but I don't know which one. So there's no clue I can give. I think I need to discard. It's a bit dangerous because it's the only card I've drawn, but I have no idea what else I'm expected to do here. I'm discarding. It's fine. We'll discuss this later. But Steve should have just played, I think. There were a couple of times when he needed to clue to save important things. But when he clued yellow on Paul's hand, I don't know what he was thinking with that. I mean, he obviously saw my yellow 4, but he's got yellow cards in his hand. How does he know that he doesn't have the yellow 4? I mean, he does have the yellow 4, but he doesn't realise that. So, bad clue, that one. All right. We could do with getting some clues back at this point, unless I've drawn a playable card. So Matt really ought to be discarding. And I think Paul discards, and then Steve should play. Okay, that's a green clue on me. That's just telling me my green 5 is playable. Obviously, the other one isn't playable because the multicolour 4 is the other option it could be, but Steve's about to play it, hopefully. And then Paul's got the multicolour 5. Well, it's a tricky game. You've really got to be able to trust each other, I think. Understand what they mean. So Paul, I think, should discard. Yep, there we go. Now Steve should play. The problem is that Steve's faffed around. After he's given that yellow clue, he faffed around for a long time. But he has played it, which is fine. Unfortunately, you see Paul's drawn the 3. Now, that looks like a save clue. I'm just going to play my green 5. I know that's safe. It might look like a save clue, but actually, like we don't need to save any 3s. In fact, there's only 1 3, and we need to play it. So Paul will definitely be playing that. We're very short on cards at the moment. There's only 5 cards left in the deck. We can see the number at the top left here, so that's an issue. Well. I mean, Matt should just discard, and Steve should carry on playing. We haven't told him to stop. So Paul plays, Steve plays, Dave discards, I guess. And then it comes back round to Paul. Paul should really play his yellow 3. He could play the multicolour 5, obviously, but it's much more important he plays the yellow 3 because then Steve can play the yellow 4 and then Paul can play the yellow 5. The problem is Paul's got 3 playable cards, and he can play them. No one else can play those cards. There's not another yellow 3 out there. So we're going to probably lose on time, I think. You see, if you've got lots of clues, you can often waste time by just cluing random things. But in this case, we've only got 2 clues. What was the clue? It was clue 4 to Steve. I don't think Matt needed to do that. We need the clues. Actually, it doesn't really matter because we need to waste the clues anyway, I guess, to a certain extent to get round. But Paul should definitely be playing. I think Matt rather may have been worrying that Paul may have tried to stop Steve playing. Oh, what? Why would you do that? He must know it's the yellow 3. Why else would we clue 3? It's the only 3 that matters now. And if he doesn't play it, Steve can't play the 4. That was just a waste time clue, cluing 1s. I think we've definitely lost now. Okay, so the white 5 just been drawn by Dave, which means I've got the red 5. Yeah, because all the other 5s are accounted for. So it's a good job I didn't risk it earlier. So I don't think there's anything we can really do. Paul should be playing his 3. I don't know what he's doing. I should just be discarding, I guess. In fact, I think it's better if Matt discards because I've got a playable card. Matt doesn't at the moment. I'll have to wait, you see, to play this. So I'm just going to clue Dave's 5. So Matt should then discard one of his 1s. Paul should play. Steve should play. And then we draw the last card when Matt plays. Unless he faffs around. Which he might do, because if the white 5 is the last card that's played, it's fine. That is not an issue. And if Matt draws a playable card, that's actually good. No, he hasn't. We kind of need to spread out the playable cards. Oh, you see, and Paul's drawn another playable card. It's the only other red 4 as well because we've lost the previous one. So I'm pretty sure we definitely can't do this now. Because if Steve draws the last card, if he plays that, then we all get one more turn and that's it. So we're not going to get the red 4 and the red 5 played, which means I won't get my red 5 played that I've been hanging on to all game. But I don't think there's anything we could do. If Paul had played that yellow 3 on the previous round, maybe we could have done it. It still would have been very tight, don't know. But that definitely cost us, unfortunately. Yeah, you see the resignation on his face that he's got another playable card. If Matt had drawn it, it would have been better. But we would need enough clues to kind of waste to get back round. So, last turn, what can you do? I can throw away the red 5. Because I'll never get to play it. So they just need to play the cards now. I mean, everyone gets one play. So we get the red 4 yeah, in fact, with the red 4, the yellow 5, and that's it. Nothing else. What else can you do? So we'll be short the red 5 and the yellow 5, and that's it. So 28 out of 30 is not terrible. But really, we should be getting 30. And then Dave has his last turn. Let me put the old headphones back in. There we go. And see what they have to say. Let me make sure I unmute them as well. So
I think an improvement over last time.
Now you can hear them. Let me unmute myself. And now they can hear me too.
Hello.
Hello.
Well,
Hello. That was interesting.
yeah, there were some issues in that game, weren't there?
Oh,
I'm trying to think through them all now.
So there was one really nice bit, And one very questionable bit, I think, well, early on. There was when Dave gave the 0 clue.
Yes.
That was really nice, the way it worked out. Now, there's a very big danger, because the reason we all had issues is that you also had the blue 3 on your leftmost card. So the card that Paul was finessed on, you also had. So Paul's looking at you've got it and you didn't play it, and Paul got confused. So Paul says, "Well, I'm just going to play my leftmost card anyway." And then when Matt out of the blue played his leftmost card, Paul just went,
oh wait, now I shouldn't play my leftmost card because Matt played.
But what's happened is you can see the blue 3, and then you think you've got the green 2, so you need to let Matt play first.
Yeah, that's right.
So we worked it out, and that went quite well. The issue was you had a 5 in the middle. So if you do get 0 clued, then you decide, okay, I'll just discard. And
yeah. Because I was looking at it and thinking,
but then you have
really
to save the 2.
But
discard's the clearest way to get Matt to play.
Yeah.
And I think if you discard and don't play the 0 card, it would also tell Paul he's got the blue 3. However, I had a 2 on my chop that you had to save.
Yes.
So,
so if you discarded, I don't play either. And it would have been really bad.
And then the questionable
worked out really well.
And the questionable decision was your second turn. It was your very first turn, I think. So I can't remember. I think
I clued the white
because I clued the blue card.
You can see the 1 and the 3 in Matt's hand, and you can see the 2 and the 4 in Dave's hand.
Yeah,
and they're all in order.
Why do you just clue white, and then Paul clues white on Dave, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, on Matt's hand.
Yeah, you clue white, and then Jonathan, because you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 in order in the right place, and you're the person who needs to instigate the clue. Because Matt needs to play before Dave. So you're in the best position to do it. So if you are going to take a turn off to do that, you need to clue white. And when you don't, what you've done is you've given me the opportunity to finesse the white 2 by cluing white on the 3.
Yeah, I was expecting you to clue Matt on his white 3 at that point.
Well, the problem is if I clue white on Matt's hand, you might think it's a finesse on you and you would throw your 5 away, which we didn't want to do. And so what I did, I clued Dave on a 2. And Dave should realise his 2's not white, so he shouldn't play. And then we would bluff out the green 1 that Matt had. So that's why I clued 2. And then Dave just went, oh, I don't
but then he played it.
Well, he said, we were talking a lot, so obviously there's a lot of those information going on. So Dave should discard, knowing his 2 can't be white, because otherwise I would have finessed white.
Yeah, with all 4 white cards in order in people's hands, it took us 4 clues to get those 4 cards played.
Yeah. So I think it was really good that you took a turn off. I think you should have clued white there.
Yeah, you're right. Definitely right there. Yeah. And then there was a few times when Matt, you missed the Paul's finesse clue, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then Paul for some reason didn't play the yellow 3. What was your thinking there? You'd been clued 3?
Right, but we need to get clues to get round enough time so Paul can play his hand out. So he thought he'd play the 5 instead.
Yeah.
To get enough clues to come back to him. Because at the end,
we talked about it.
Rather than discarding, Matt should have discarded to.
And to let Paul play instead of Paul join the yellow 3.
Yeah.
Paul join the yellow 3 is what slowed us down. But basically, at the end, as long as Paul's playing with 1 card left in the deck, he can go 3, 4, 5. So that's fine. As long as Paul gets to play with cards left in the deck, that's fine. So he just needs to get round to the point where he can do that.
Yeah, if Paul hadn't drawn the 3, it would have been fine.
And I lost as the last point because I should just played the yellow 4 at the end there. And then we'd have got 1 more card played.
Oh, did you not play the yellow 4?
Or if we just clues.
I did.
Or if David clued.
Yeah. But we'd have got 1 more card out.
You
didn't get your red 5 out, and Paul didn't get his yellow 5 out.
Yeah.
But if I'd have played, Okay.
All right, interesting. So it wasn't quite what we thought for commentary at home because my hand was really difficult, and it's really hard to see that sometimes when your hand's difficult, quite what everyone else is thinking, and they do some funny, what seemed to you was really funny, questionable decisions, and actually they make sense in hindsight.
There was another timing issue as well. When I got clued yellow on my hand, and I think I clued your 5 or something because I didn't want to
ages before playing.
No, because I can see the multicolored 3 in Matt's hand. So I can't play because my first card could be the multicolored 4.
Oh, yeah.
So I clued your 5 and then you threw the 1 away and then whatever. And Matt doesn't play the multicolored 3. He played the 5 that has been playable for a few turns.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Paul clued the 3.
Well, because I don't know if he just missed it. I don't know if he missed the
finesse. I assume that was what was happening.
However, once he clues the 3, if he's missed the finesse, I still can't play. Where if he doesn't clue the 3, I would think, okay, maybe we've both got the multicolored 3, and I would play.
I think
Someone else
Yeah,
should
the
have
problem
played
is
it.
I had 3 cards in my hand that were none of which were
Yeah,
playable.
you have to
I
give a
needed
clue.
say-
You should have clued the colour of Jonathan's 5. Jonathan
I
had 2
probably could
5s.
have.
You should have clued green on his 5.
Sure.
I think when
Green
Matt doesn't play, like I don't think Matt would have missed a straight finesse. If you'd had the multicolour 4, he definitely would have played multicolour 3. So I think at that point you should.
Which means Paul could have
Play.
clued your playable 5.
Yeah.
And he didn't. He clued 3. I'm like, well, it's very dangerous for me to play now because if I play it is the multicolour 4 and he has just missed it.
Yeah.
So
I could have, again, same thing. I could have let someone else clue that 3 if we just thought that Matt had missed
so
it.
if we just
I
thought...
could have the 5, I guess, but
so
it felt like a wasted clue at the time. But
yeah, so I have to discard again, I think. Not discard, but I can't even discard. I have to clue because I've got 3 cards in hand.
Yeah. It was a bit messy.
And I think that's why you misplayed, right, Jonathan? The clue.
Oh yeah, because I then have to spend another turn. And I clued yellow on.
When you clued yellow on Paul's hand, I was commentating for a long time, saying, "What does that mean? What in the world?"
Well, I can't play. I can't play.
I know, but I assumed it had to be a play clue.
Yeah, but why? Because I've got yellow card. I've got 3 yellow cards in my hand. Why would I honestly clue yellow on Paul's hand?
I thut I came to the conclusion that maybe I had the red 4 or something because like it's got to be a play clue.
I would clue red.
Well, no, indeed, I couldn't make any sense.
I would so anyway, it's fine. Playing didn't actually cost us anything.
Yes.
All right, do you want to invite?
Yes. So I'm actually just going to go grab a drink, but I will start the game so you can start cluing and think about things.
Okay. Just see if it's your turn first, I guess.
Okay, it is Matt first. So I'm going to be last, so I'm going to mute you guys now. Doop. And in fact, no, I'll leave you on just while I get my drink, so you can talk and things. Just don't say anything about my hand. I guess you wouldn't do anyway, but I'll be back in a sec.
All right. Better than 28 this time.
Yeah.
This might have to be my last one today. Well, with the fact that you guys had a time change and I didn't.
Oh yeah.
It's an hour later here than usual.
Yeah, so it's too late in the evening for you to play, is it?
Well, I have to go pick up my son from school.
Okay, that makes more sense. When's your daylight savings then? It's usually about 2 weeks after that, isn't it?
It is now, yeah, thanks to previous US president. I think that was a George Bush thing.
Right, I'm back. Let me mute you off the stream, me off you, and then I can remove my headphones and we can play. So what's happened? It's not even my go. So, Matt clued 1 to Paul, who played. He obviously had 2 ones. He would have played the rightmost one. Then Paul... That's it. Nothing else has happened. What are they doing? Well, let's check the chops. So no 5s on the chop, that's fine. We've got a white 2 on the chop though, but look, we've already got the white 1 played, so we can get that played quite quickly. Steve could just clue white to get Dave to play that. And then I would clue 1 to get Matt to play that. Can't see any other issues at this point. Oh, there we go, after all that. So... it's me. It's worth paying attention. The blue 2's popped up. I can't finesse it though, because there's no blue 3. It doesn't really matter if Steve discards. I think I'd prefer Matt to discard in some ways. I mean, I could discard. It's probably better if I clue Matt, because then once that 1 has been played, Steve could clue the 2. Although Steve will actually need to save the 5 at that point. No, he will clue Dave's blue 2, I think. Because Paul, if Matt plays the 1, Paul plays the 1. Steve could then clue Dave's blue 2 to get that played, and then I could clue Matt's multicolour 2 to get that played. It's not ideal. It's not very efficient. Oh, but I'll tell you what I can do. I can give a green clue now on Matt's hand, and they'll play both of them. Welcome if you just joined us. We're trying something new tonight. We are commentating. Well, I'm commentating. So I can't hear them. You can see them all chatting, but you can only hear me, if we've done this correctly. Because it's obviously sometimes when we play, we don't want to talk about what other people are doing or what they think the clues mean or what cards they've got. But this way, they can't hear me, so I can tell you, oh, he's got this card, and it probably means this when he does this clue. So hopefully it's more interesting to watch because you'll actually understand. Thanks, Loki. Right, I've been clued 1 by Steve. He didn't clue Dave. Now that seems like a crazy decision because Dave in theory could throw away the yellow 5, but he must be thinking Dave's got a definite clue. And he's probably going to be cluing green on Matt's hand because then green will play the Matt will play the green 1. And because our system is play all, when it comes back round to Matt's turn, he will play in the multicolour 2 because it will also get flagged up as green when he gives the green clue. We'll see. The other issue is that Paul has got the 2, the yellow 2 in his chop. Now, I don't know if you saw that, but Dave's just clued 5 on Paul's hand. That's called a 0 clue because he hasn't got any 5s, which in our system means play the rightmost card, your chop card usually. But the 2 is not playable. Now, I've got to assume really that I've got the yellow 1. It'd be crazy if I didn't. So I just play this. It's the yellow 1. And then when it comes back to Paul, he will play his yellow 2, the rightmost card. But we kind of missed a trick here because, from my point of view, although as we were discussing earlier, it's very difficult sometimes when you can't see what's in your own hand to appreciate all the difficulties that other people might be having. Anyway, we've missed cluing green on Matt's hand. But I have to play that 1 because Paul doesn't know what he's got yet. That card could be anything. It could be the blue 2 or the multicolour 2 or the white 3, or he doesn't know what. So I really have to play my yellow 1. If I don't, we're in big trouble because Paul will play his regardless. So I certainly can't clue Matt green. I think they were worried that I would throw away the yellow 1, but I would have given Matt the green clue. It's tricky. It's tricky. So what's going to happen now? Matt's looking around. He doesn't need to clue Paul because Paul will play the yellow 2. Steve's got no playable cards. Right, that was an error because Matt's just given exactly the same clue that Dave clued, and Dave has stormed off in disgust. That's the reaction I think we need to give on that one. It's quite nice because they can't hear me, although I can see it, but I can do like facial expressions. So Dave's got a drink. Is that vodka maybe in the glass to help him through? Yeah, that was just a completely wasted clue. Matt missed the fact that Dave clued Paul to play his 2. So Paul is now thinking, what in the world? Because he was about to play that 2, and Matt just clued him again. And that's really confusing. Hopefully he'll realise that's just Matt being Matt. This does happen. And we'll just play the yellow 2 anyway. Steve's job will be to save Dave's hand, I'll tell you that now. What would be quite nice, though, would be... He's played it, thank goodness. If he clues, there you go, yellow, I was going to suggest, because he could clue blue or just 2 to get the blue 2 played. But cluing yellow is effectively saying he wants both of those cards played. He wants the 3 played and he wants the 5 played. And that's only going to work if we get the 4 played in the middle. So Paul is looking around, can't see the yellow 4 anywhere, and it's like, I must have the yellow 4. Now, the slight difficulty with this is that the default is that it's in your most recent spot. So where Paul's green 1 is, he's expecting that to be the yellow 4, and he will try and play that card when it comes around to his turn. Now, ironically, that will actually work because the green 1 is playable. So if we're a bit naughty here, we can deceive Paul. We cannot tell him to stop playing and tell him, we could tell him the middle card is yellow 4, but if we don't say anything, he's going to play the green 1, which is great. So, what do? I've only got 1 clue left. I could clue Matt's multicolour 2, then Paul should play his green 1. Dave won't play his 5 yet because he can see the yellow 4, and then Paul will be like, the first card wasn't the yellow one, it must be the next card. And I think it should work. If Steve discards the 3, it's not the end of the world. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to clue 2 on Matt's hand. Who's going to be discarding? We need to take this just before we pull the trigger. It's going to be play from Matt, play from Paul, discard from Steve. I think that's okay. Because Dave will have a clue. We'll see what happens. Played. Steve obviously wasn't happy with my clue. Let me know if you think I should have done something else there. But I think it works. He didn't play. He should see though that Paul's going to play the 1, surely. Matt didn't need to discard there. Matt should know it's not a finesse because I think he's leaving Steve with a clue so that Steve can clue Dave's hand. Don't think he needs to do that. In fact, I think it's better if he doesn't, because if Steve wants to save Dave's 2, which is reasonable, he can underchop, which means he doesn't discard the green 3, he would discard the multicolour 1, but that's fine. That's actually better than discarding 3. If Steve underchops, it's great. So we kind of want Steve to underchop. And then yeah, he shouldn't because he can see the yellow 4. I think it's tough, but I think you should wait when you can see the yellow 4. Well, it's all gone wrong now. It's my go. I've got no clues left, so I have to discard. There's no point faffing around. That's okay because the white 3 is also in Paul's hand, even though that was playable. Maybe that was a bit too deep, as Steve tends to say. But Matt will definitely play the 2 now. We've only lost the yellow 5, so we're kind of 1 point down. If we manage to get the rest of them out, we will have improved our score. We've been improving slowly over the course of the night. So Matt should play. Paul then has a clue. And unfortunately, the finesse, which we would love to give on the red cards, is now no longer possible. In fact, you can bluff the green 2 out again if you were to finesse Paul's red 2. The issue is you don't want him to discard it. I tell you what Paul's going to do. He's going to give a 0 clue on Steve's hand. Because we want to get the green 2 played from Matt's hand and then the green 3 played from Steve's hand. So Paul will look at that and go, if I clue the green 3, that will get Matt to play his green 2. It's difficult cluing Steve's hand though. He's discarded. Why would he do that? That doesn't make any sense. He can't clue 3 because it flags up both the 3s and it means save. He can't clue green because Steve would then play the earliest green card, but he can 0 clue. It just gives him a 5 clue, and that tells Steve to play the one on the right. And because Matt's got the green 2, he should not play into discard. He discards the multicolour 1, again, which we want to discard. I don't know why they're not finessing. Oh, I know why Steve's not finessing, because he can't see the green 3 that's in his hand. Dave should just play. They left me with a card. Now, Paul's got a handful of playable cards. Yeah, he's got the white 3 and the yellow 4. Well, isn't this a bit of a mess? And we lost the red 2. This is just terrible. So we really need to get one of the red 1s played, but it's so inefficient just to clue that 1. We could have finessed. It's the last one we need. What are we going to lose? I think we need to get Paul playing because he's got all these playable cards. If we lose the green 3, it's bad. But I actually think the best option is for me to discard, because then it gives clues and Paul can then use the clue to get Steve's card played. I'm going to discard. That's fine. Yeah, you got to be careful about using all the clues and then leaving them with not enough clues for the really important clues. Although Paul has a hand full of playable cards, I just don't think we can do it yet. Matt should play. That was a straight play clue. And then Paul can 0 clue, which is what he should have done last time, because it would have got 2 cards played. It was the perfect clue, Paul. Well, what was that? That was a 0 clue on me instead of playing. Okay, so I've probably got the red 2 is my guess. We'll see what Paul does. If Paul plays the red 1, that means my chop card is the red 2. So the 0 clue, he gave me a clue of 4 actually. And we always, with a 0 clue, you give the highest number that you can't see. So he would have clued me 5, but he didn't include me 4. So it means I've got a 5 in my hand. That's quite helpful to know. I don't know where it is, but I know it's in my hand. And cluing me a 0 clue, that's telling me I've got no 4s, tells me to play my rightmost card, my chop card. But if it's the red 2, obviously that can't be played until the red 1 is played first. So Paul would then play his red 1. Otherwise, when it comes around to me, I just play it. Obviously, it can't be a 5 in this case, though. So the 5 in my hand, or I might have more than one of them, he's discarded again. What is Paul doing? All right, it's not the red 2. I don't know what I've got in my chop, but this is like super inefficient. This is how not to play Hanabi. Because we've just lost the white 3 and the yellow 4, which are both playable. And the red 2. The red 2 was a grave loss, I tell you. If that's low down in the deck, we're in trouble. I mean, it might be in my hand. So Dave. No one's cluing Steve on his own hand. Right, so that was a 0 clue on Steve. Yep, he gave clue to Steve a 5 clue, which is telling him to play the 3. So I definitely don't have the 3, so I can just play this. It wasn't a finesse. What was the card? It was the blue 3. I think they didn't want to lose that by me discarding. So Matt finally plays his green 2. Paul should play the 1. Anytime now. And then Steve, because he was 0 clued, plays the 3, and he gets back to Dave. Dave doesn't have any clues, so unfortunately, even though the green 4 is playable, he has to discard. You see, we were just so short on clues, and that's because we've been so inefficient with the cluing. I've got one precious clue. Now, Matt's drawn the 3, the multicolour 3, which is playable. Is there anything else that's playable? There's Paul's hand, obviously. The white 3 is the most important because we're about to lose it, and it's a dangerous discard as well. We can't afford to lose that one. The red 2 is not out there, so the red cards can't be played yet. The yellow is, yeah, okay, fine. So I think, because Matt's got 2 saved discards, I clue 5 on Paul's hand. It's a 0 clue. It tells him to play his rightmost card, which is the white 3. Matt has no clues, so he's forced to discard. Matt hates discarding. So even though he has no options, and he should definitely be discarding the card furthest to the right, he usually takes a while to get there. There we go. So Paul plays his white 3 as expected. Steve looks to see has anything interesting being drawn. I mean, the multicolour 3 I think is the only card that we can play at the moment. Oh, the white 4, of course, that Paul was in Paul's hand as well. We need to make sure we've got enough clues, though, to clue both of those. We really want to clue the multicolour 3 and the white 4. He's clued the white 4, knowing that Dave has a safe discard, and then I clue the multicolour 3 on Matt. That's the way I think Steve was expecting it to go. He has drawn the red 5, which is no good at the moment, so I just clue 3. Then Matt plays, then Paul plays. So there we go, we got those played, and then we're back to Steve with no clues, which is fine, he's got a safe discard. We need to watch those red 3s. You see the red 3s are trickling through Steve and Dave's hand. If Dave discards again now, which he could well do, then both those 3s are sitting on the top and we're going to have to save one until the red 2 pops up. The blue 4 is playable in Steve's hand, so Dave theoretically could clue it, but it's not generally good practice to clue so far ahead. You're sort of clue stealing, we might say. Paul's got nothing but junk. Matt, yes, so Dave's discarded. Matt's got junk, and the red 4, which is actually really important. So they've got a handful of junk, so I am actually going to give the clue here. So I think I just clue 4, which effectively saves to 3, and then Dave discards the 3. And then we save them both. It's dangerous saving it now because they'll think it's one of the 3s we've lost. Or they'll think it's something else. It'd be nice if there was a finesse. Can't see anything. I'm just going to clue the 4. Because both Matt and Paul and Dave, they can all discard, and it's fine. Then we'd have plenty of clues, and we can save the 3 in Steve's hand, we can save the 5 that would then be on the top in Dave's hand at the bottom. And there's the red 2, though, and this is why you wait. You don't just clue straight away, because now we can actually finesse it. So Paul can finesse... what would you do? What would you do? You probably actually clue red on Matt's hand, which tells him to play the 2 and the 4. And then... No, he's discarded. Interesting. So Steve just plays the 4. The problem with that is that Paul's now drawn playable cards, so we need to clue him as well as them. Dave, I think, will clue red. Yeah, there we go. We tells him to play both of them. So I could clue green. Not green, that would be terrible, but 4 to get Paul's 4 played. I think that's bad. The rest of his hand is junk, though, so I'm actually going to clue 5 on Steve's hand. I think that's the right way to do it. Because then I'll go play the 2, play the 3. Dave discards the 3, we play the 4, and then we clue the 5 in Dave's hand. Let's do that. The play all system means that Matt will just play all his red cards. So when it comes back to him, he's going to play the red 4. The danger we have to watch out for is when it comes back to him again, we'll have to play he's going to play the multicolour 2. Thinking it's the multicolour 4 probably, because that is playable. And would flag up as red. So we'll have to stop him. Dave may discard. He's got 2 clues though. Depends if I've got anything playable. I'll probably just be discarding when it gets back to my turn if Dave clues. Because he could clue Paul's green 4 with a 4 clue. That would be nice. Just get that one played. Yeah, he has. That's fine. So there's nothing else for me to do, really. I think I'd rather Steve gave the clue here. I haven't discarded in a while, so I am just going to discard. Steve doesn't have any playable cards, does he? No. So Matt plays his next red card. Paul plays his green card, and then Steve can clue Dave at the bottom on the 5 and get the 5 played. It's not a high priority though, and Dave is a safe discard now, so Steve may decide to do something else. Remember, we had to save Matt's hand, because when it gets back to Matt, he will play that the multicolour 2, expecting it to be the multicolour 4, because he thinks at the moment it's playable. The way we can stop him in our system is you give him another clue. Ideally, you clue him to play something else. Unfortunately, he has drawn the blue 5, so we can clue Matt 5, and that will tell him to stop playing his red card and instead to play this 5 card. Steve has saved my 5. And I say save because it's on the chop. Dave has told Matt to play, which stops him from playing the multicolour 2, which is good. Let me just check the 5s. So I don't have the red 5 because it's in Dave's hand. The white and the multicolour 5s are in Paul's hand. The blue 5 is in Matt's hand. So I've got the green, or we've lost the yellow 5. I've got the green 5. So that's great. It means I can play it. Do I want to play it? Time-wise, I think we're fine. It also tells Paul what he's got. I'm just looking to see whether or not it'd be more... I haven't got any clues what we're doing. I just play. If I had a clue, so, because the 5 could be the last card played and it's fine. We've only got 7 cards left in the deck. You just got to be careful of that. So if I had a clue, it may have been worth me cluing something else to get it played. I think we'll be all right, actually, except for the fact that we lost the yellow 5. Yeah, that's the 5. So that's going to tell him to play the white 5, and then when it comes back to him, he's going to play the multicolour 5, which kind of says to me that I've just drawn the multicolour 4, to be honest, except that Paul has just drawn the multicolour 4. Dave's been included on that. But there was no way... Yeah, I was going to say there was no way of cluing the white 5 without also cluing the multicolour 5, because if you clue 5, they're both flagged. If you clue white, they're both flagged. So it can't have been a play this as well. And you can see anyway that both the multicolour 4s are now out there. Matt should be playing that one. We need to play the yellow 4, multicolour 4 and 5, and that is it after Matt's played that. So I should definitely clue to get this one played as soon as possible, even though we've only got 1 clue. Steve's got a hand of junk, so it's fine. So I just clue a colour that makes it obvious. And white has already been finished. That's why I'm choosing white, because otherwise white would seem like junk. But cluing it like this is telling him he knows that's a multicolour 5 now, because the other white 5 is gone. And the clue is play, so he must realise that the previous one is the multicolour 4. The only slight issue, which I probably should have thought through and include differently, is that Dave also has the multicoloured 4 in his most recent spot. So I think that was an error on my part, because Paul is going to think it's a finesse and that he should not play. If I'd clued 4, that would have been unambiguous and he would have played it. So yeah, definitely a mistake on my part. Don't think it'll cost us, because we have to wait for the 4 to get played before the 5 gets played anyway. So Paul will clue or discard. Can't see any clues to give, so he's probably going to discard. And that effectively tells Dave, why didn't he play his multicolour 4? Oh, it must be because he can see it in my most recent spot. So then Dave will play his multicolour 4. So that is a bit of a waste. A bad clue from my point of view, but it won't cost us. Paul might be thinking, maybe it is. He's discarded it. Now, discarding is quite clever, because that says, I know we definitely don't need this card, which effectively tells Dave, you must have it. And Steve, to be really sure, has clued it. There's the yellow 4. That's the last one we need. So there's nothing else to do here. I just clue that, I think. Let's double check. It's the yellow 4 and the multicolour 5. And because we've lost the yellow 5, that's it. So there we go. We got 29. Just in the end. And let me put my headphones on as they play through the cards, and we can chat to them again. Right, we can now tune in and
Definitely play.
listen to their
Yeah,
arguments.
for sure.
Let me unmute myself.
Anyway, we got 29 regardless.
There we go.
Yeah, +3. What?
29, yeah.
Dave and Jonathan get 4.
Easy, says Loki.
What?
Did you get dragged
Back
down
to your
so far?
Fibonacci sequence again.
Right, what I'm actually going to try doing is I can replay the game from the start, because there's going to
Yeah, but
be
you
some
need to share. Are
interesting
you going to share the
discussions.
screen? Are you going to share the screen or not?
Maybe. Choose...
Oh no, you'll lose our face. You'll lose our faces.
Yeah, the faces will disappear,
Yeah.
which would be a bit
Okay,
weird.
give me a sec. So give me a sec. I'm going to find the game and also join in on you. You can,
What? How do you do that?
if you go to your face at the top.
Oh, I don't know how to do this. So we're
Uh,
replaying. So we're not going to play again. We're pretty much done for the night. This is going to be our last game. But
Are
we're
we?
going to have some diagnostic chats as to...
If you click on your face at the top and
what
scroll
happened?
down, you've got a list of all the games you played recently. If you go down to the most recent one
My
and
face.
click on the word Hanabi, and then you can replay it, but you can also replay it from the point of view of someone in the game. So who are we doing it from, Jonathan?
Well, I'm doing it from my point of view.
Okay, well, I'll do it from your point of view as well.
Yeah.
My
see.
face at the top? On the main side?
No, yeah, so your name in the top right.
Ah, yeah.
So
and then
they're
you
all
go
gonna
scroll down.
Watch the same
Oh,
replay as we're
Scroll
going
down.
to.
You find the game. You press not anyone's
in.
name, but the name of Hanabi, and then you can press replay game, and then you can pick the person you want to do it from.
Where am I looking? Recent activity?
It's quite a handy feature if you've not seen this before on Boardgame Arena. You can replay any game that you've played, turn by turn.
In my games played,
I will have to catch this
Scroll
later.
down.
However,
Scroll down.
it being an hour later, I have to leave. So thanks everyone for the games.
All right.
Thanks, Paul.
But,
Thanks for playing.
nice one, Paul.
No problem. See you next
Yeah.
week.
See you later.
Hey.
So I want to click replay game.
Yeah, and then you
Oh.
get to pick who you see it
I
from.
think I need to
Which
pick a
one?
different perspective.
Oh, whose point of view should we watch this
Well,
from?
given
No,
we're going to be
can't do
talking about it, I think we do it from Jonathan's.
All Jews Jonathan's.
Yeah.
Right,
Alright.
And then-
because Paul's left, all the Zoom screens have gone all over the place now.
Oh
And I don't think if I switch to the 4-player, it's going to... In fact, it almost fits in. We'll just try this just so you can at least
Yeah,
see.
even if we're in the wrong place, it's fine.
Yeah, well, it's the cards.
Yeah.
You can't quite see all the cards, but it's Dave's hand at the bottom. You can see the tops of the cards.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
just be careful when you do the replay. If you press play, it moves it on one card or one turn.
Yeah.
But you can't go back one turn. You can only
No.
go back to the beginning.
no. Okay.
Indeed.
So, all right, go on, talk us through it.
So here we go. So the clue 1 was given, that's fine. He plays the white one, and then you clue the white on the 2. On Dave's hand, that's fine. I guess the white 2 played.
Yeah.
I've got an interesting decision there. I think there's loads of things from memory. I think you have.
There was a big delay.
You have
I'm looking at my replay, and Jonathan has
There's
the
blue 2 or something?
yellow 1. He has the blue 2, and he has a white 3
You have the yellow one on your chart.
on his right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have the blue 2 in your most recent spot, I believe.
Yeah.
And I've got a host of things I can clue here. Obviously, Paul's got 2 2s. And Dave's got a 2 that's playable as well.
Oh.
Loads of things. So I just thought it'd be better to get the things on the chop saved, basically.
Whose turn are we up to? Steve's.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've actually... He clued white in the end, didn't he? He took a
I
long
did,
time
yeah.
over that, but he clued white on Dave's hand, and Dave played the card.
Yeah.
So then on my turn, I've clued 1 on Matt's hand, thinking that Paul will play his 1. Steve will then have clues to give and can clue the blue 2 in
The
Dave's
blue
hand.
2, yeah.
We'll see what happens. So Matt plays his 1. Paul
Yeah.
plays his 1, and then Steve again has lots of possible clues that he could give.
Oh, because I've got a clue of green on Matt. I could have gone blue on Dave.
Yeah, I was expecting the green on Matt because it gets the 2 cards played.
Yeah.
But I'm also conscious of Paul's yellow 2 on the chop. So I want to
So
get the yellow
I-
one played.
I clue the 2 now with the 0 clue, And
Yeah.
then Jonathan
Yeah.
plays this one, and then Matt clues the 0 clue again.
So this is
Yeah.
a mistake.
And that's when it all goes to shit.
Right, so hang on a second.
Yeah.
So Matt then gave the duplicate clue that wasn't necessary, that confused Paul no end, but in the end he does play the yellow 2, doesn't he?
Yeah. We come to a mistake now. Now, we've still got a lot of things to do. We've still got a 2 on the chop. We've still got... Matt's hand's got 2 playable cards in it. And we've got to sort Dave's hand out. He's got the blue 2 and a yellow 3, which is playable, and yellow 5, which is playable if the 4 gets played.
Yeah.
So I think what happens now is a mistake, because what happens now is I clue yellow. I could have just clued 3.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
But the problem is we lose tempo if you don't spend the turn cluing the 4.
No. Because I thought this through.
Yeah.
From Paul's point of view, you're not only telling Dave to play the 3, you're telling him to play the 5.
Yeah.
So Paul thinks, I must have the yellow 4. And so we don't say anything to Paul. We do other things. It comes down to Paul and he plays his most recent card.
No, because you finesse his most recent card now.
Yeah, so that that was...
So from Dave's point
hang
of
on.
view...
No, because...
Can I come back? Look, if you do not tell Paul about his 4, because it was not in his leftmost spot, Dave will think he's got it. If you do not say about the 4, Dave will play his card.
So
And that's what confused the hell out of me. When
hang on a sec. Paul will play his 1, won't he?
No, only because you finesse it here.
No. So if let's say me and Matt
let's say
discarded,
okay, correct, yeah, Paul will play his 1.
Paul will play his 1.
Yeah.
But Matt knows that.
Yeah.
So he knows Paul's going to play the 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I clue the 2,
Yeah.
it's not a finesse. Because the card's already been clued. There's
Wait.
no point double cluing the green 1.
Well, you could just clue the yellow 4.
No, but you don't need to clue the yellow 4. So if Matt plays the multicolour 2, because he knows
Okay.
it's not a finesse, because the green 1's already been clued.
Has it?
Yeah,
Wait,
because,
when was the green 1 clued?
because
It wasn't.
yes,
It was. Well, it is. It's when I clue yellow on Dave's hand.
That's right. He's telling him to play the yellow
Oh.
5 as well. Paul is going to think he's got the yellow 4 in his most recent spot, and he's going to play the 1. So the 1 has effectively been clued as a play. So Matt knows that. So when I clue the 2, he shouldn't take it as a finesse. He should take it as a play. Then he plays his multicolour 2. Paul plays the green 1. And Dave's like, he hasn't played the yellow 4 yet. I need to wait. And then Paul knows, oh, it wasn't my first card, it's my second card, and he plays the yellow 4.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually.
But obviously, when Matt thinks it's finesse and doesn't play the 2, then it does all go wrong.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense, actually. That actually is correct. Yeah,
I think it's really, really hard, though.
Yeah, but what should happen now is, so what happens now is you clue 2. Everyone but you thinks it's a finesse on Matt's 1.
Yeah.
Everyone but you is irritated that you haven't clued the 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If this goes wrong, I have to spend a turn telling Dave to stop.
So what I probably should have done is, no, but if I clue anything, I clue there. If I clued white or something,
Yellow on Paul's hand.
well, I could have done that.
I mean,
but then he wouldn't play the green 1.
it's fine. I come back and I clue Matt on the 2 cards he can play.
We could have.
I was holding the green 1 as well. Why don't just clue me green?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
God's
I
sake.
think there's just a much more simple way of doing it. Like if you clue Paul, and then Steve can clue.
I can clue Matt on the 2 cards he can play. I could have just clued Matt. In this particular case, I can clue Matt 1s, so what he's drawn instead of the 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that's why it went wrong. And then Dave was under the impression that because I clued yellow initially, they must both be playable. I think he had a bit of a brain fart here. He thinks the blue clues a finesse against the multicoloured 2, but it can't because this blue card has to be blue because it was in his hand last time.
Yeah.
So that's why Dave played. He thinks that this is a blue finesse against the 2 because I wouldn't have clued yellow last time if they weren't both playable.
I also thought, why wouldn't the yellow 4 be clued?
It's difficult to see. I think Matt. I think
that makes sense.
It actually comes back to Matt. Actually, Matt needs to work out that Paul would have played the 1 anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to clue the yellow 4, but I didn't have any clues.
Yeah, you've used the clue to do it, Jonathan.
Yeah.
But you've kind of
that also should tell Matt that it's a play clue, because he can't do he just has to let Paul play.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Anyway, so that's where it went wrong, and Dave played the 5, and after that, I think it went okay actually.
Yes, it was mostly fine. It was quite tight.
Well, I think it's actually okay to let the yellow 4 die once the 5's gone. You don't need to save the yellow 4 because there's another one going to come later on.
Yeah.
And even if it's the bottom card, you still get it played.
Yeah, true.
So a couple of discarding. Matt plays the multicolour 2.
Yeah.
We lose the red 2, which is bad.
Yeah, I was really wishing we'd got that out. We were just so inefficient for the first bit that we then didn't.
Well, because everything was backwards. Every time it comes to me, I've got lots of things to clue, but no good clue. So I think I clued green 2 now.
2, yep.
And this gets to Jonathan. So everyone but Matt can see this is a bluff finesse. And then Matt plays it. Oh no, apologies. Paul
That's
missed
a straight
it, not
play,
Matt.
isn't it?
No, it's a bluff.
The 2 on Matt's hand.
Yeah, it's a bluff because he shouldn't play it because he thinks it's red.
I could play it,
but he could think it's red, so he shouldn't.
Oh,
play
sorry.
it.
Yeah, you can see the Paul. Yeah.
But I don't play it.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's get
correctly.
to that.
And then,
So we play that one. I discard
and then Matt gives you a 0 clue.
instead of
You've
playing.
got no 4s. Yeah, you've got 3 on you. I think
But
you've
Paul
got 3 on your
discarded,
shot.
didn't he?
Yeah.
He shouldn't have done that, should he?
So he's missed.
He should
So he's
not have
missed.
done that.
So he's missed it, and the fact he's missed it has told Matt that his is green.
I think that's
guess.
really hard from Paul's point of view.
No, because Matt doesn't need to give you a 0 clue.
Yeah.
I think that is not really hard. I think when someone's got a play clue and they're not saving the next person, they just randomly do something. I mean, you could have discarded that. Discarding is actually clearer. I know it's weird for you to discard, but discarding is clearer.
Sure, it's clearer, but
If
just
you get
because
to-
I've been clued to play my most recent card, that might, if I've been given a play clue on my most recent card, I could have a 5 in the chop, and Jonathan's gone, well, I don't need to save the 5 because I've told him to play the 2. So if I discard, that could.
I in that particular case, I would have, you wouldn't do something that could be a bluff. I think. Anyway, that's fine. So it's fine. Anyway, when Matt doesn't play, and he not only does he not save myself or Dave, he saves Jonathan, which is the furthest person from him.
Yeah,
he
that's
gets
definitely
Jonathan
weird.
to play. So I think Paul should get that right, and then I just clear it up.
Yeah. Again, that whole thing felt weird. I was like, yeah, all right.
I got 0'd on my green 3, which forces Matt to play rather than wait another turn.
See, I don't understand why Paul didn't finesse or give you a
He didn't have a clue. He didn't have a clue.
Oh, okay. At that point, yeah, right.
So anyway, so weirdly that actually helps because we didn't lose the green 3 that way. And then the 1 gets played, and then the green 3 gets played. And now we're back to Dave with no clues.
Unfortunately, the 4 has to go.
Yeah, we'll lose the green 4.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're just waiting for the red 2 now, and other than that we can do quite well.
The rest of the game I think was fine, wasn't it? I don't know if we need to go through the whole game.
I'm trying to think if there's any more interesting decisions. I think things just came out in the wrong order.
Yeah, there was a lot of having to 0 clue to get stuff played.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of it was fine.
Yeah.
I think we did quite well getting the 29 in the end.
Yeah. I actually,
Given the issues at the start.
From your point of view, it's fine. So I actually think it's Matt's the one who kind of. Yeah, Matt's the one that's got to just play, I think.
Yeah. It's really hard, I think, from several people's point of view, though, to see.
Yeah, and if it gets to me, and I think Dave's going to play the yellow one, I can just underchop.
Yes, you see, that's the other thing I thought. Matt doesn't need to discard to give you a clue, because if you underchop, actually, we lose the multicolour 1 instead of the green 3, which is better.
Yeah.
Because we've already played the multicolour 1.
Yeah. And when Matt, I don't know what he did. What did he do? He just discarded, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Paul played. Yeah, so if Matt... Yeah, if Paul plays out the blue, Dave would not play. That would work, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Thank you very much for watching. If you've tuned in with us tonight, we're going to try... I mean, this worked quite well. I don't know how you guys found it in terms of the commentary thing.
I think Dave would prefer not to talk to us.
That's all.
That's all. Yeah.
No, I don't mind talking to you. It's just that we we basically tell
We'd
each
give
other-
too much stuff away.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
you could actually. You guys don't need to talk to each other when we're playing now,
Yeah.
do you?
No.
Not really, no.
You guys could play in silence while I commentate
Yeah.
on future ones. If you want to try it one week, it'd be interesting to see.
I just
Yeah.
don't think I don't think it's very social for 2 hours to sit in silence and play an hour.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
sure.
thing.
So I wouldn't mind in the future. Are we still streaming, by the way?
We are still streaming.
I wouldn't mind in the future potentially all being muted on Zoom and all streaming it from our point of view and talking
Yeah.
about things.
That'd be a
And
lot
if
of
you get
streams.
Yeah, but what'll happen then at the end is you can come back together. You can all play it from your own point of view, and we can talk through a replay basically on each
Yeah.
person's stream. You can do it, and then I wouldn't feel like I'm not engaging vocally. I think if I was going to sit and play a game for a few hours, I'd like to want to vocalize my
Yeah,
thoughts.
to chat about stuff.
Yeah. All right, well,
but
we'll give that some thought, and we'll be back next week for something or other. Thanks
Yeah.
again very much for watching. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.